Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Night of the Living Dead from 1968. This is the movie written and directed by George A. Romero. Also co-written, I guess, by John Russo. This is one of the first, if not the first, zombie movie. But Romero is well known for this genre, for the genre of zombies. And this is one that I had seen probably once when I was like 18. Wasn't really into horror movies. Wasn't really into like older film. You know, I was just getting into movies. I was working at a movie theater. I was, I had a part-time job at Blockbuster. So I was kind of seeing all of the current releases. This is back in like 1999 through 2003 or 2002. So I wasn't like into it. And it's like, I don't know. This movie compared to like what a modern day horror film is, they've made some strides when it comes to being gory. It's still a beautifully looking movie. Better acting. Some of the acting in this is a little off, but it's good. It's for what it's doing. And I watched this on Criterion and watched some of the behind the scenes stuff, some of the intros and different things about this movie and how this movie was made, how it was kind of, a run and gun, low budget indie movie. And I think it was great, especially for a zombie movie. So pretty simple premise. You have an outbreak of people, undead people, unburied people, I think. Unburied dead, I think is how they refer to them in the movie. That apparently, due to radiation from a satellite or a space, a returning ship from space, the radiation, that's what they think. In the exposition, a lot of the exposition of this movie is through the radio. Like, all of the characters have no idea what's going on, obviously. This, unlike Scream, which I talked about, Scream and Scream 2 recently, that are very much in a reality where horror movies exist and horror movie tropes exist. This movie is nobody knows what's going on. This is like, what if zombies happened and nobody had ever heard of zombies before? So all the exposition is coming from like radio and TV broadcasts. And you find out that, the radio, whatever, zombies are happening. And these are kind of smart zombies. They move slow, right? This is their classic slow-moving zombie. But they are smart still. They're using tools. They pick up rocks to smash windows. They know how to open car doors. They flipped a car. So there's still some brain activity in there. But they're just, they're out of it. They're zombies. And they're cannibals. So that's what the thing is. And killing the brain kills the zombie. So those are kind of the basic rules that are set up in this movie, which I appreciate. I appreciate, they didn't have to to see that headshots kill zombies. They didn't have to have a character shoot him in the head and then tell the other characters, see that? Shooting him in the head stops them. They kind of just organically find out. I do think actually the radio at one point literally say shooting them in the head will kill them. But you know what I'm saying. Overall, I'm making a point without making a point. Being inaccurate. But I think it shows a lot more than it actually tells. I mean, the radio is really doing all of the telling in this, and everything else is showing. Acting is pretty good. The lead in this is amazing. They casted a black actor as Ben, who is the lead, Dwayne Jones, who you don't see right away. At first, you're seeing this couple. They're not a couple. They're brother and sister they're on a long drive to go put a wreath on the grave of a parent, I think. And at the cemetery, there's this dude walking around that looks really creepy. And even the brother is playing around with the sister because she's freaked out. And he's like, oh, they're going to get you. They're going to get you. Guess what? They get you. They got you. So she survives, gets away. She runs away, finds a farmhouse. And then later at that farmhouse, this black dude, Ben, shows up, right? So it's primarily those two in this farmhouse for a lot of it. And then you find out that there's people in the basement that have also been hiding out in this farmhouse. But at first, it's just her and Ben. And her performance is big. It big and contrasting because it gets very not big for a lot of it, too. It's going from, like, trauma, like, just shut down completely, like, not just being a dead fish, which makes sense. I'm not saying it's bad, necessarily, her performance, but it's definitely, it's like going in directions very hard. Like, when she's feeling trauma and she's just, like, not able to function, she is not able to function. And when she's being hysterical, she's being hysterical. And when she starts being hysterical and trying to get out of this farmhouse that's been boarded up by Ben, because he's the only one thinking straight out of all these people that we see. Ben's the only clear-minded guy, smart, knows what's going on, doesn't know what's going on, but like has the best like things to do to survive. Like, he is the most aware of what's going on as far as handling himself and protecting himself and protecting everybody involved. And there's a point where she's trying to get out and he just knocks her out. Which, you know, I'm all against violence in general, whether it's men being violent to women or women being violent to men. Obviously, there's an issue with men being violent to women. But in a zombie apocalypse, you can't let the hysterical lady tear down the barricade and threaten your livelihood because she wants to get out of there for some reason and try to find her brother, who's most certainly dead. So he knocks her out. And then we find people in the basement where you have, like, you know, another dude, like another couple, and which the girlfriend in that couple does a very similar thing. So maybe the writing in this movie a little sexist, sure. It's 1968 independent horror film. Yeah, there's probably going to be some gender dynamics that don't hold up. Okay, you're going to have some tropes where women are acting stupid. But you have men acting stupid also. But the women, it's like they're kind of like helplessly stupid, which doesn't really hold up. I mean, there's definitely helplessly stupid women out there, but it's not a generalization that can be made about women. Whereas this movie kind of feels like it's taking that, writing from that stance, which, you know, a couple dudes in 1968 writing an independent horror film, sure. They're not going to be breaking down all of the barriers. They do have a message in this movie with the black character being the main actor and how this movie ends. I think they're definitely making some social statements. And I think a lot of social statements can be made with zombie movies in general, but you know, they weren't necessarily fighting for feminism too hard in this movie. Where are we at? So all the zombies are cannibals. The fact that they use tools is kind of interesting. They use rocks to break the windows. They flipped over one of the cars that the people that are hiding in the basement. And then, of course, you have the people in the basement. Everybody's arguing over what is the best move. Should we stay here? Should we go find help? Do we get gas for a car? What are we doing? And then they find out that there's, you know, a place where you can go to find help. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. So you're dealing with like people self-sabotaging. You deal with a daughter that's injured in the basement. But the thing that switches you in this version of zombies is she just has to die because of the radiation. So anybody that's dead and not buried at the moment will come to life and just want to eat people, want to be a cannibal. So the daughter, who's struggling to survive, turns, and there's a pretty good scene. There's this crazy scene where she attacks the mom, and it's like this echoey scream that works so well. It was beautiful. This echoey, out of like people die. It was like the most beautiful death you could have. You know, it's not like just a blood-curdling scream. The way it's like reverberated and edited, this echoey scream was beautiful. That was like a highlight of this movie. I was like, that moment, this movie stepped way farther past where they thought they were stepping. I think that was like, as far as like moments in this movie cinematically, I think that one was a great little moment. A lot of self-sabotage. A lot of characters that seem like in modern day, in 2021, would be anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, like being very selfish, not really thinking about the everybody involved, just being very selfish about what they want to do, and if it causes the death of everybody else, too bad, so sad. I'm free to fuck your life up. Very much like that's what these characters, the dad character, a lot was for sure an anti-masker. Like he would be at these school district meetings just yelling about QAnon stuff from up to down. If he was a politician, if he was a Republican politician, he'd be posing with some kind of semi-automatic assault rifle. But yeah, a lot of that happens. They come up with a plan. We're going to get in the car. Hey, you kid, you're going to drive. You're good with the truck. You drive it. There's a gas pump over there. We found a key. We're going to go get some gas. We're going to get out of here. And we're going to have this diversion. Old dude that would probably be a MAGA QAnon dude. You open the door. When we leave, close the door, lock the door until we get back. Make sure you're at the door so you can open the door when we get back. They get out. Like I said, not a moment of feminism, but the girlfriend also has to go for some reason. So she ends up like delaying stuff. She gets in the cab and it's like ends up taking him a lot longer. They end up getting over there, but they end up squirting gasoline everywhere, and the torch that they had ends up, it's like just everything went to shit because this chick had to be by her boyfriend. She couldn't just wait 2 minutes while he went to go get some gas. Again, not really, this is not burning bras feminism in this movie. But still, it would be stressful. And like the way it handled all the zombie moments and the action, like the moments, I know I remember seeing in some description of this movie, or maybe it was the poster, like how it's like the goriest thing ever. Whoa, so cute. So cute that Night of the Living Dead is gory. Especially after last week I reviewed Cannibal Holocaust. Like to say that any aspect of Night of the Living Dead is gory in any way. I mean, there were a couple scenes. There was a skull, like a decomposed body, where you're seeing like the skull kind of bugs, but it's clearly fake. I'm watching the Criterion Collection on high def, maybe on VHS, sure. I mean, or in a theater on like some shitty film stock with a dim bulb, sure. There's a scene where like the zombies' hands are coming through. They're trying to break through the windows that have been boarded up, and somebody's got a knife and they're cutting fingers off. But it clearly looks like a paper mache hand. There's a scene where a zombie comes in and gets stabbed in the head with like a crowbar or whatever, and then when the crowbar gets lifted, you see this hole still in the skull. Okay, a little gory there, but that's really the only 3 moments of goriness, aside from like gunshots. You're seeing like zombies getting shot in the body and then the head, which, I mean, you want to talk about desensitized to gun violence. Welcome to 2021 in America. So the end of this movie. So, it boils down to where Ben is like the only one alive, right? Car blows up with the people in it because the gas, the chick and her boyfriend, they're dead. The mom gets stabbed in the face by the daughter, and then the dad freaks out. He ends up having to get shot. So Ben's like the only guy alive, the only survivor. He's by himself in the basement with the gun, just trying to survive the night, or however long he needs to survive till help comes. And then it becomes the NRA wet dream, where it's like everybody with guns in the town is just shooting all of the zombies. But what you're seeing, like as they're walking through town with their guns, like you're just seeing people walking and they just kill them. There's not a lot of confirmation going on whether they are or are not zombies. They are very much just shooting first, asking questions later. If you were like maybe the woman in most of this movie, the sister in the beginning of this movie, who was big performance, who was traumatized. I mean, when you're traumatized, you act like a zombie a lot of the times. Very zombie-ish. You're not moving fast. You are out of it. You are out of it. So there could have been a lot of people, probably were a lot of people in the reality of this movie, after all the gun nuts are out shooting all the zombies, quote unquote, they had an excuse to finally go kill human-looking things, and they loved it. So anytime there was a human-looking thing walking around that didn't have a gun, they were like, must be a zombie, I guess. Or, like what happens at the very end, you see a black dude in a window. I mean, if they're killing... Like, there was a scene right before that where it looked like 2 zombies holding hands walking through a field out of it. I mean, they didn't have to necessarily be zombies. They could have just been a couple that happened to survive and are just walking around like, oh my God, we're alive still. Walking, and I don't even know if they were holding hands. Maybe it just looked like they were holding hands. And then they just get shot in the back by this, group of people with guns. And then the end of this is, they see, oh, we got one up there. Pop them in, which I'm sure those kinds of people that want to use their guns to shoot at other human-looking things, whatever they categorize as a quote-unquote zombie, would take the opportunity to kill whoever they want to kill and just say it was they were a zombie. I swear they were a zombie. I mean, yeah. I'm a super racist guy with a gun and love killing people. So yeah, that black dude was a zombie. And then as the credits go, you're seeing like still images of like, these like giant meat hooks as they like throwing his lifeless body onto piles. It's a pretty great movie. I mean, it's a classic. That's what I'm doing on Saturdays. I'm trying to review classic movies that I haven't seen. They're kind of blind spots. And even though I've seen this one, I watched it with a very uncritical brain. An unexperienced brain with film. And I'm getting into a lot of movies, especially horror films, because there's a lot of them. It's a genre that's really I have the most blind spots. It's a genre that I really wasn't into much until recently, apparently. And I'm excited. I'm really enjoying watching a lot of these movies, especially this. I'm excited to go through Romero's catalog of films, especially somebody that specialized in the zombie genre. I'm excited for that. But it's cool to go back and see one of the original OGs of that kind of subgenre in horror films. Especially trying to have a bit of a social statement at the end of it. And it wasn't at all like you could easily watch the movie and not see that. I mean, you see all the people going through just shooting people, but the kind of the statement of the shoot first, ask questions later mentality of how it ends is that thing that zombie movies do, where it's like, is the civilized world as civilized as we thought, similar to Cannibal Holocaust? Like, these men are going through murdering people that look like zombies, or they say are zombies, could just be traumatized humans that aren't dead, but they don't seem to care too much. So they're going through probably killing a lot of normal people that have been traumatized by this event, but it's being framed as like they're saving humanity. It's always that. Just causing the most horrific, catastrophic damage to humanity and then framing it as a positive. It is just the most disgusting thing that humanity does. It's insane. It's insane. And this movie, like Cannibal Holocaust does, like a lot of zombie movies do. It's like, the humans are the real threat. Right? The anti-vaxxers, they're the real threat. They're the ones that do not value life unless it's their own. Above all others, value their own life and will gladly sacrifice yours for their ability to operate autonomously in this reality. So anyway, check it out. Is there anything else? Yeah, that's about it. Check it out. I saw it on Criterion, but I'm sure it's a classic, man. Night of the Living Dead from 1968. Check it out. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!